Thank you, thank you, thank you.
No problem. So, how's life?
It's good.
It's
Can't
good.
complain.
Can't complain.
Yeah.
I'm really liking the look. It's giving me blue jeans, for sure.
Period.
All over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to match your energy. I got one of my favorite artists on my shirt, actually.
That's me. How does it feel? The shirt?
I feel honored. This is probably the best day of my life. I've been waiting for this moment for my whole life. So
Oh, stop.
I'm really excited.
Typical Damien.
I'm kind of nervous, but we're gonna do this.
I'm nervous too.
Because you're my favorite #1 artist. You know what I mean? Blue Jeans is definitely a dope album. The shirt feels great. Waited till today to wear it. So I'm excited. How's life? How was your day today?
It was good. I woke up pretty early
Okay.
to get ready.
Mm-hmm.
Did some yoga.
Did some yoga?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Is this like a daily routine for you?
I try to make it a daily routine,
Or,
but sometimes I don't get around to doing it. Yeah,
would you say it's like a stress reliever for you?
definitely. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
To relieve stress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last time I did yoga, I was farting. Actually, you were there with me.
What's that?
Yeah. Remember I had passed gas a lot?
Oh.
And I was releasing because I felt like that was the objective.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
I was
'Cause
probably cussing you out.
I had so much pent up.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? I just had to release, so I felt like it was the right time. I was very comfortable.
You got so much pent up gas.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So, quick question.
Mm.
The reason why we're here,
Yeah.
Blue Jeans,
Yeah. My third album.
third album. First of all, what inspired the name?
I was already working on a third album when before I even called it, or thought about calling it Blue Jeans.
Right.
And all the songs kind of complemented each other.
Okay.
They had like this really girly vibe, independent vibe.
Okay.
And I felt like I needed to create something that represented all of that,
Gotcha.
everything on the album.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why not create a persona? And so I created Blue Jeans. And I said Blue Jeans because blue jeans are like classic, you can always wear them, they never go out of style. So I felt like that was a perfect fit, so.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, like, with the album,
Mm-hmm.
was that your objective to create something as timeless such as Blue Jeans and Bynum?
I don't think I set out to make a timeless album with Blue Jeans, I think I was more so focused on art more than anything. I feel like this is like my best art as far as my album.
Why would you say that?
The colors, the how everything just looks clean and just I look more confident, I literally have my whole ass out on the cover, which I didn't think I would ever do. And I'm just super proud of it, I feel like the best things, I make the best art and the best music when I don't have to think about it all the time. And I'm just happy it came out the way it did.
Yeah. So for the album itself, it sounds like the creative process was definitely liberating for you, in a sense. What would you say the songs on your project connected with you the most? Because I don't want to say the best song,
Right.
but what are songs that connected with some?
Definitely the title track, Blue Jeans. And we talked about this prior. Blue Jeans is kind of like that vulnerable and also empowering song at the same time because I'm confident in what I want, but also I have like these soft spots that not everybody gets to see. And I felt like Blue Jeans kind of perfectly showcase that, you know?
What made you start off with vulnerability instead of saving it for last?
I don't know. What do you mean, like?
So usually what I've noticed with your projects previously, you usually start off with like a banger or just something to hook people in, kind of more vulgar in your face with it to capture people's attention. And then throughout the project, it's like a journey as if like you're talking to the person, getting to know you. It's almost like, you know, as when you first meet somebody, you don't blatantly show vulnerability.
Right.
You have to be comfortable around the person.
Right.
So your project is kind of like a journey along that. But what I've noticed with this project was that going back to you being liberated, I've noticed how with Blue Jeans, as you said, you started off with vulnerability and then got into like, you know, the fuck you,
The
this
ratchetness.
is me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that unintentional?
No, it was intentional because I obviously wanted people to see those sides of me. And I felt like in order for the record to make sense when you heard it, that each song had to have like, you know, a different vibe or carry a different vibe into a new vibe. So that's why I started off with praying, you know, like just kind of talking shit and saying fuck you to the critics and the people who judge me about, you know, how I look or who I am. And, I feel like that track, Praying in particular, is so different for me because I've never like, I talk shit in my music, but I've never like really put a target, you know, on somebody's forehead.
It's more general.
Exactly. It's more like, this is what I'm talking about. This is who I'm talking about. And if you don't like it, fuck it, you know.
One thing I've noticed about your music that I really like is that I don't think people understand the power of words, right? So with that being said, I've noticed how within your music, you speak from a general perspective, but you also speak from first person view. So when people recite your lyrics, it's almost like they're affirming themselves through your lyrics.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's intentional, or was that just kind of part of the creative process naturally?
That's always been a part of the creative process naturally. I never sit down and write a song thinking, oh, what can I write so people can relate to it? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel like I've always been relatable, you know, and I've always just wrote and sang and done what I felt as a human being first, regardless of what I wear, what I do, and who I am. And to have people relate to it is just a bonus, you know. Because I feel like music it brings people together in so many different ways, and it doesn't matter what you're talking about. I feel like anybody can relate to it, whether it's hip hop, pop, R&B, you know.
Definitely.
But I think I just maybe do a good job at expressing myself in my music and not really worried about if somebody's gonna relate to it or not, because I feel like then it wouldn't really be
organic.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So with Blue Jeans being the song that connected with you the most, and for it to be the first song on the album, and then you said Praying, correct? What would be your third? Top three.
I'm gonna say Facts because I feel like Facts is like my best lyrically written song, even melodically, and as far as my flow, I feel like that's the best I've ever sounded on the track. I kind of did that with Never That, but I feel like Facts is just better, you know.
Right.
a better me, better version of me as an artist.
So within your artistry, do you feel like you're more comfortable with rapping or singing?
Ooh, that's a good one. If you would have asked me that 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said singing. But I've gotten so deep into rapping. I wouldn't say, for a long time, I wouldn't even call myself a rapper because I'm like, am I a rapper? Like, I can't rap like that. You know, like, I can't put myself up against the greatest. But I had so much fun rapping, and I kind of let go of, like, the high standards that people, put on rap artists, and, you know, people who rap. And I just did me, and whatever that sounded like, if I liked it, then I liked it. It was nothing that, like, I set out to, do. I didn't set out to be like this rapstress. But I'm glad that I am rapping. I feel like I'm good at it. If I didn't feel like I wasn't good at it, I would have put it in music. And for this album to be pretty much rap, that's crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So with that being said, another pattern that I've noticed within your artistry as a whole, your previous projects, when you say you're doing you mean that shit. Now, what I mean is, it's usually just you on the project. What I've noticed with Blue Jeans is that you had a couple of collaborations on there. So tell me, how did that come about?
Well, I knew for this album, as far as like the production, that I wanted to work with different producers. So that's what I set out to do. And I just found like different producers on the internet that I'm working. Some of them have beats. Some of them, I worked with, online, because of COVID and stuff. But as far as like features, that came like very organically. Our feature came literally like this. It was a conversation that we had.
Yeah.
Beautiful Gangsta.
I remember you hit me up, and I deadass recorded the verse drunk as hell and sent the voice memo to you. That was definitely lit, and I appreciate that, by the way.
Yeah.
For sure.
And Lovey the Don, I had known Lovey for a minute, and I knew I wanted to work with her. I just didn't have the perfect song. And then I heard Powerpuff Girls, the beat, and I was like, okay, well, she gotta do this. And she did it like that.
Yeah, y'all went crazy.
Thank you.
Yeah, y'all went crazy.
That's one of my favorites too. I'm surprised that Lip Gloss kind of, was getting more of the attention than that song, honestly. But on TikTok, people have made more videos on TikTok to that song than Lip Gloss.
Wow. So usually it would be the other way around.
Yeah.
With it being popular on TikTok, you would think like it would catch more traction.
Exactly. But as far as like working with different people, which I've always wanted to work with different people. I've always wanted to write, produce, and just do everything musically, artistically with other people. But it just really never worked out, or it felt forced. So it was kind of one of those things where I was like, just forget it. I'll do everything myself. And so that's why those 2 first records, all the production and all the writing was me. But with the art on Blue Jeans, I knew I wanted to do it by myself. I feel like I like working with other like creatives, but I feel like I can better articulate what I want visually than anybody else. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't work with anybody. It's just, that's how I prefer it. But I'm really happy with the way like the production turned out and the art.
Mm. One thing I've noticed with Blue Jeans in particular is that you've achieved this balance to where, as you were saying, you like to tell your own story and you like to be in control. And I've noticed how, although this was kind of smack in your face, this is me, I don't give a fuck, but you were able to kind of be vulnerable in the sense to where it's like, okay, I can't be in control of everything.
Right.
I've noticed how your albums, your whole category, or catalog, excuse me, are time capsules, right? And I feel like Sexuality, being your very first project, take us through a journey on your catalog up until today.
Wow. Before I wrote Sexuality, I was in the house, depressed, did not leave out, like, in the bed every day. Didn't have a job. I think I had my car at the time, but I still didn't go anywhere, you know. I was just in the house, not doing anything. And this went on for 6 months. And the summer before I met you, in heaven, I had made Sexuality. And I think I made it in like 2 months, 1.5, 2
Out
months.
of the 6-month period?
Yep.
Gotcha.
It was the last couple months leading up to me releasing it. And I was in like a really, really dark space. And I needed a way to be creative and express myself, because that's what makes me the most happy. And just every day, morning, night, like waking up, writing, waking up, producing, waking up, adding synths and adding vocals and adding layers and layers and layers until it was completed. Shot the album cover a couple miles from my house with Kia. And I'm proud of it. I feel like my music now is way, way better. But it's definitely, like you said, a reflection of the times, you know. My life kind of imitated that art, because I was going through a lot with my sexuality at the time. And I kind of wanted to find a way to turn all that sadness into something more liberating and something more inspirational for me. And I hope that I did that. You know? It makes me feel good when I listen back to it. Sunny Speaking, that was crazy. That was just, oh God.
How was it crazy?
Because it was supposed to be called Sunny, self-titled album. And I had made so many songs for that. I think I made like over 50 songs for that record. And like half of those got wiped out. That title got scratched, the artwork got scratched. I had met someone, I'm not going to say his name, that I started looking to for management. And no, this is serious. It was supposed to be a joint album. I was supposed to release Sunny and Reality, which is a follow-up from Sexuality, at the same time that summer. But I had met him, and I let him get in my ear about a lot of stuff. Met up with a bunch of producers and engineers that wanted crazy amounts of money to reproduce this record to make it sound better. One producer was trying to get $20,000. $20,000.
Wow.
No. Look. Embezzlement? Embezzle? Yeah, and so that really like put a pause on everything because even though I was doing shows and I was still putting out singles and stuff like that, I didn't know what I was gonna do with this album. And remember, I was like even going to you saying like, "Oh, it's gonna be called what was the I forget the other name that I was going for, the other title.
Where you had like
Sunny Speaks or some shit like that. I had like 6 names,
yeah.
but I ended up going with Sunny Speaking. And this was after I was like, okay, I guess this whole manager thing is done. And I ended up releasing it a year later. So I was pissed about that because I felt like I had everything planned out how I wanted it.
Right.
And I let somebody like get in my ear. But I feel like you go through stuff like that in the industry, whether you're an indie artist, whether you're Rihanna, Cardi B, like you're gonna go through bullshit like that with people getting in your ear and trying to tell you how to, you know, do everything.
What you do.
Exactly. And I should have just. And I had people, you know, telling me like this is not, you know, the vibes.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be real.
Yeah.
The vibes were off, and I didn't listen. And
Heaven was another.
yeah.
Yeah. Difference.
Yeah. And
So
y'all were right.
With that being said, going back to the industry, how do you feel about the projected stereotypes of what an artist is supposed to look like or how the artist should, you know, be? What was your relationship with that, especially coming up and going through the times of with dealing with certain people and those hardships?
That's something I struggle with because I've always struggled with perfectionism. And I feel like artists these days, especially artists who have bigger platforms, they always have to be on point. You know, they can't fuck up or they get canceled. Their rollout for their single or their album has to be amazing and flawless, or it's not going to go #1, or it's not going to sell a million records. And even though I'm not on that level yet, I still looked to my peers and what they did and how they could make their music sound better and their rollout look better. And I applied it to my music, but I just did it in my way.
Right.
And I guess that's why some people kind of, like when I put out Sexuality and I did the whole promotion and stuff like that, people thought I was on a big label. And I was like, no, I did that shit on my own. Because I know what I'm doing. I know what I want it to look like. I know how I want my music to sound. And even though I don't have this big budget, I make it look like it. And I feel like that's what you're supposed to do as an artist. You're supposed to take what you have and make it work. Because even, you know, bigger artists, they get thrown obstacles all the time, you know, when they're releasing music and stuff like that, whether that's somebody trying to leak their shit or somebody claiming that they stole a beat or some shit like that. And I just feel like, well, now I feel like the standards are really, really low.
I agree.
Really, really low.
I agree.
I feel like it's so much easier to get into the music industry because people suck dick and kiss ass, and I'm not going to be that ever. And there's really I really can't. There's a few artists that I can count on maybe one hand that are like very different from everybody else, um, and kind of like are on on their own way, stuff like that. And I know people try to compare me, but I feel like when I look at my peers that, I don't see anybody with 3 albums. I don't. Just being real. Um, but I want to definitely be more easier on myself, and try not to let that get to my head because I feel like that's what I was doing with Blue Jeans. I was like, when I sat down to make this record, I knew I wanted it to be like a more hip hop influenced, album. But I didn't want it to sound like everything that's on the radio.
Right. Right.
So that was something that I struggled with. But at the end of the day, I'm just like, fuck it. I'm still gonna do me and what I want and make the music that I want and make the art that I want. And nobody can stop me from doing that.
Mm. So within you learning that about yourself, it sounds like you're in competition with yourself at the end of the day.
I feel like you should be an artist.
As you should be, but not everyone thinks that because they look at people who already have it, they look at the results, and they don't ever really understand the process. So with that being said, of you being in competition with yourself, who would you say is your biggest outside influence to kind of help shape your direction? Not in the sense of trying to be like them, but just having the imagery of, well, they did it their way, I can do it my way too.
Right. A couple of years ago, maybe, because I stopped doing that. I stopped comparing myself to other artists, and started looking at them as my peers and saying like I can do that too. But one person that I would say like really influenced me, like from the way that they talked, walked, carried themselves, was Rihanna. Like Rihanna was just like super unapologetic about everything, and even though she went through a lot in the public eye, she was still like fuck you. And I like that. I like people who don't go by the rules or make up their own rules, and they're not afraid of what people think of them. Um, and I feel like that's me. But even down to Rihanna's stage presence, like she's just super confident, and like with every like note and every movement is emotion.
Definitely.
And that's definitely something that I've tried to capture in my artistry a lot.
That's beautiful. So we have Sunny the artist, but how would you compare and contrast from Sunny the artist to Sunny the woman?